Hello all, welcome. In today's session, we are going to cover SQL constraints. So SQL constraints are the rules that we can define to ensure data integrity and consistency within a database. They will be acting like a safeguards and also like a preventing the entry of invalid or inconsistent data. It maintains accuracy and reliability in stored information. So constraints are defined to ensure data integrity and accuracy. There are total 6 types of DB constraints: not null, unique, primary key, foreign key, check, default. Not null constraint. So when we see the not null constraint, when we define create table, table name, column, data type, not null. This is a syntax. So this column will ensure that a column cannot have null values. That is where we will define the not null constraint. Unique constraint. The syntax for unique constraint is create table, table name, column, data type, unique. This particular column will accept only the unique values. Also, it will accept the null values. When it comes to the third constraint, primary key constraint, it is a combination of not null as well as null unique constraint. So the syntax is create table, table name, column, data type, primary key. Now the foreign constraints. It is a referential integrity constraint which it can be linked with the parent and the child table relationship. The syntax for this is create table, table name, column, data type, foreign key, column which references to the parent table of a parent column. Coming to the next constraint, check constraint. Check constraints ensure we are going to do a pre-condition check. Assume we have a age and this particular column should accept only the age which are greater than 18 years. So that time we are going to create a check constraint for that age column. The final constraint is a default constraint. The default constraint syntax is create table, table name, column, data type, default value. So we'll without wasting any further time, we will be jumping into the practical session. We are going to connect to HRDB database DB name. To save our time for the constraints scenarios, I was prepared few scripts that would help. Okay, first we will be creating, as part of this SQL constraints, we will be creating a department table and also a employee table. Department table is a parent table and employee table will be assuming as a child table. So in this we are going to create a department table. So table department has been created. In this department ID we created as a primary key, department name we created as a not null constraint, location. So our main focus is to see the practical session on employee table. We will execute the employee table. So what exactly the employee table? Employee table which contains a employee column we defined as a primary key. Employee ID unique, it is a unique key. Employee name not null constraint, and age we created as a check constraint. Hire date we set as a default current date. This is a default constraint. The final is foreign key constraints. So foreign key and this is a column name which we inside employee table, department ID, which references to the department table of department ID. So all these 6 constraints we covered into the same table, employee table. So this is while creating a table itself, we will be defining the constraints. So alternatively, we can do the alter operations if we want to do modifications once the data has been loaded into table. If we want to modify the constraints, we will use the alter script. Now we created with the 2 tables, employee and department, right? So let's go to the schema. Under the schema, if we try to refresh it, the tables, right? So we can able to see employee table and which contains employee ID, unique, employee name, age, all these are. So what constraints are defined here? This is a check constraint name and this is a foreign key and a unique key and a primary key. So all these are constraints. So these constraints are created. Want to modify the constraint name. So this is a syntax: alter table name, rename primary key, employee primary key. This will be modified with the employee primary key new. So let's execute it. So if we go and refresh it, we can see employee primary key new. That is how, like similarly, if we want to drop the primary key column, so we will be using a syntax: alter table name, drop constraint name. This could be any kind of a constraint. We can drop the constraint. So in this case, oh my bad, so employee new, right? So we are going to drop this primary key constraints. So now the primary key constraint has been dropped. We can see there is no primary key constraint. This is the one way to create a primary key, and the other way is we can use alter script to add the primary key constraint using this syntax. So we can add a primary key. So this is a primary key. Now if you refresh it, so employee p underscore p key, this is a primary key which was created for this employee ID. And the other way to create the foreign key constraint is using alter script. This is a syntax for creating a foreign key constraint. So we already created a foreign key. So to recreate, I am just dropping that foreign key constraint so that we can use a alter script and we can recreate. Right now it's not available. Foreign key constraint is not available. Once we execute this alter script, it will be created the foreign key. This is how one more way to create constraints. Now you can able to see the foreign key. So other way to create a primary key is one way to define the primary key in beside the column name. The other way is to define. I'll drop the primary key, already existing primary key. So now there is no primary key for this table, right? So now we are going to, let's drop the table. I'll be dropping the table, employee table. Let's recreate the table. Table has been dropped. I'm going to recreate the table with this primary key, defining it at end of the script. This is how we can create a table. The table has been successfully created. If I refresh this, we can see all our constraints. I think like we need to refresh here. These are the constraints created. This is how we will be creating in two ways. One is using a create table syntax to create a constraints, and the other is alter table syntax to modify or create a constraints. So let's see the data. How are we going to insert a data? So first of all, let's try to insert the data into employee table. So right now we don't see any table data. Select star from EMP. We are trying to insert a data into this table. For safer and closer, I am just giving these two statements here. Whenever we are trying to insert the data, right, so it is throwing a violation foreign key constraints. So there is no data available in department with department 2 in this department table. That's the reason we are getting this violation error. So to overcome this error, we will be creating the table constraint, table data into department. To overcome this error, we will be inserting few records into department table. Okay. Now department table with the department information has been loaded. Now it contains a department 2. So whenever we run this insert script, it will satisfy the condition and the data will get loaded into employee table. Now, if we try to re-execute the same script, the first thing is it is going to throw unique constraint error. So there is we need to modify this. This accepts primary key will accepts only the unique values, and this unique key will accept only unique key values. That is the reason we could not able to load the data. Now the data has been loaded with the two records, 1 and 2. Let's try to see the third one. The third scenario is we are trying to insert primary key with the 3 column, 3 data, number 3, and unique constraint will accept null values, right? So we can able to insert null values. The data got inserted successfully. If we try to insert the fourth row, these two conditions, these two rows are satisfied now. When we try to insert a null value in employee name is not null, so it will not accept the null values, right? So it will throw the constraint error. Let's execute. Employee violates not null constraints. It means employee name will not accept the null values. Okay, so this is how the restrictions of data will happen. And similarly, if we try to execute the same script by modifying, we can able to insert. Now moving to next scenario, we will insert the unique rows 5 5, and also we will use employee name. Right now there is a check constraint which age is greater than 18. If the age is less than 18, so in that case it will throw the check constraint error, right? So now we can see employee violates check constraint at the age. So whenever if the age is less than 18, it will throw the constraint error. We can run this constraint, and we can run now. It will insert, the data will get inserted successfully if all the conditions are satisfied. Now we will try to maintain the primary key and unique key. Also we will maintain the employee name with not null, and check constraint is satisfied. Finally, if the department is not available, 20 is not available in a department table, right? So that will throw the foreign key constraint error. Insert or update on table employee violates foreign key constraint. So that is the reason we cannot able. This is one of the reason we cannot insert a data. So finally, this is a valid syntax to load the data. Now I think you understand all the constraints, what constraints will restrict, what is the process to restrict the constraint, right? So only one thing is the default constraint. So defaultly the current date was inserting for each record, right? So this is a default date. As on today, 15th Jan 2025 is a default date. So it was insert the default current date was inserted automatically in hire date. That is the default constraint. I hope we covered all the 6 constraints with the best example, employee table, and how many ways we can create constraints and we can modify the constraints. Thank you all for your support, and it's encouraged me to do more videos to share my knowledge. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.